Ambassador Jinwoo Park sat in his small chair in the huge meeting hall. Around him, hundreds of alien beings filled the space with strange sounds and smells. Some looked like giant insects. Others glowed like living crystals. A few floated in, the air without touching the ground. The Galactic Council meeting hall was the biggest room Jinwoo had ever seen. It could hold 1,000 beings easily. Today, it was almost full. Representatives from 847 different worlds had come for this special meeting. Jinwoo checked his tablet. The time showed 14:30 station time. The meeting had been going on for 6 hours already. His back hurt from sitting so long. He wondered when they would take a break for lunch. High Counselor Vexathera stood at the center of the hall. She was 12 feet tall and made of what looked like blue crystal. When she spoke, her voice rang like a bell through the translation. Speakers. Today we make history, Vexathera said. For too long, humanity has ignored our laws. They spread across the galaxy like a disease. They take worlds without asking. They change planets to suit themselves. They trade with whoever they want. They do not respect the old ways. Many aliens in the hall made sounds of agreement. Some clicked their claws. Others buzzed their wings. A few stamped their feet so hard the floor shook. Jinwoo sipped his coffee from a thermos. It was getting cold. He made a note on his tablet to find the food court after this meeting ended. The humans have broken 2,847 of our treaties, Vexathera continued. They have taken control of systems we marked as protected. They have created new life forms without permission. They have built cities on worlds that were meant to stay empty. More sounds of anger filled the hall. A delegate who looked like a giant squid waved its tentacles in the air. Humans are dangerous, it shouted through its translator. They change everything they touch. Jinwoo nodded politely but kept reading his messages. His daughter had sent him pictures of her new apartment on New Sol Colony. It looked nice. She had painted the walls yellow, her favorite color. The worst crime of all, Vexathera's voice grew louder, is their unpredictability. We cannot understand them. They do not follow proper procedures. They make decisions without consulting the proper authorities. They act before they think. An alien that looked like a walking tree creaked and groaned. Its translator said, "In my 300 years on this council, I have never seen such chaos. Humans appear in our space without warning. They offer to trade, then build colonies. They say hello, then change entire star systems." Jinwoo finished his coffee and screwed the cap back on his thermos. He checked his watch again. Almost 3 o'clock. General Lee would be calling soon for the weekly military briefing. Jinwoo hoped this meeting would end before then. Therefore, Vexathera raised her crystal arms high, the Galactic Council hereby declares war on humanity. All human ships are to be stopped. All human colonies are to be contained. All human trade is banned. This action is supported by 847 member worlds. The hall erupted in noise. Aliens cheered, buzzed, clicked, and roared. Some shot colored lights into the air. Others released clouds of sweet-smelling gas. The celebration went on for 10 minutes. When the noise died down, Vexathera turned toward Jinwoo. Ambassador Park, you have heard our declaration. What is humanity's response? Jinwoo stood up slowly. His knees cracked a little. Sitting for 6 hours was hard at his age. He looked around the hall at all the alien faces staring at him. Some looked angry. Others looked excited. A few looked curious about what he would say. "Thank you, High Counselor," Jinwoo said into his microphone. I will send your message to Earth right away. Is there anything else on today's agenda? I was hoping to visit the food court before it closes. The hall went completely silent. Even the usual background humming of the life support systems seemed to stop. 847 alien beings stared at the small human man in his simple black suit. Vexthara's crystal body flashed bright red, which Jinwoo knew meant she was angry or confused. Ambassador Park, do you understand what we have just announced? 847 worlds have united against humanity. This is war. Jinwoo nodded. Yes, I heard that part. I wrote it down. He showed his tablet. War declaration from Galactic Council. Got it. I will make sure Earth gets the message. But what is your response? Demanded a delegate who looked like a metal spider. Will humanity surrender? Will you fight? What will your military do? I do not know, Jinwoo said honestly. I am just a diplomat. These decisions are made by people much smarter than me. But I can tell you that most humans are pretty busy with their own projects right now. Their own projects? Vexthara's voice climbed higher. We are talking about war. Yes, but you have to understand, Jinwoo said. There are about 12 billion humans spread across 3,000 worlds now. Most of them probably will not hear about this for weeks, and when they do, they might be too busy to worry about it. A new voice spoke up. It belonged to an alien that looked like a floating jellyfish. Too busy for war? What could be more important than war? Jinwoo thought about it. Well, my neighbor on Earth is building a new garden. My sister just opened a restaurant on Alpha Centauri. There are about 50,000 students taking final exams this week on various human worlds. Oh, and the Mars Agricultural Expo is next month. People have been planning that for 2 years. The aliens looked at each other with confusion. This was not how declarations of war usually went. Most species would either surrender immediately or start making war plans. They had never met anyone who seemed to think war was less important than gardening and school exams. Furthermore, Jinwoo continued, pulling out his phone, I just got a message from Captain Minji on the Outer Rim. She says the Kepler system just discovered a new type of plant that grows in zero gravity. The science team is very excited. They think it could help feed colonies on asteroids. We do not care about plants, shouted an alien that looked like a giant crab. We are declaring war. Right, I understand, Jinwoo said. And I will definitely pass that along, but you should know that Captain Minji's discovery could help millions of people. That seems pretty important, too. General Lee's face appeared on Jinwoo's tablet screen for their scheduled call. Jinwoo, how is the council meeting going? He asked. Oh, they just declared war on humanity, Jinwoo said casually. I am taking notes to send to President Kim. How are things on your end? Pretty quiet, General Lee said. The Third Fleet finished their patrol route early. They found 2 new planets that look good for colonies. Should I have them investigate further? Sounds good, Jinwoo said. Let me know what they find. He closed the connection and looked back at the stunned aliens. Sorry about that. We try to keep our regular schedule, even during council meetings. Now, where were we? Oh yes, the war declaration. I have that written down. Is there anything else, or can we break for lunch? Vexthara stared at him for a long moment. Her crystal body flickered through several colors that Jinwoo did not recognize. Finally, she said, The council will adjourn for today. We will reconvene tomorrow to discuss our next steps. Great, Jinwoo said, packing up his tablet. The food. Court here makes excellent noodle soup. Would anyone like to join me? I am buying. As the aliens filed out of the hall, many of them whispered to each other in their own languages. They had declared the biggest war in galactic history, and the human ambassador had invited them to lunch. Jinwoo walked toward the food court, humming quietly to himself. He made a mental note to call his daughter after lunch to ask about her new apartment. The yellow walls really did look nice in the photos. The message from Ambassador Park reached Earth 3 days later. President Soman Kim read it while eating breakfast in her office. She set down her coffee cup and called her assistant. "Please schedule a press meeting for this afternoon," she said. "Something about the Galactic Council. Nothing urgent." Her assistant, a young man named Taman, looked up from his tablet. "What should I tell the reporters it is about?" "They sent us some kind of complaint letter," President Kim said. "We should probably respond to be polite." 2 hours later, President Kim stood behind the podium in the White House press room. About 30 reporters sat in chairs looking bored. Most of them expected another routine announcement about trade agreements or colony funding. "Good morning," President Kim began. "We received a message from the Galactic Council yesterday. They have some concerns about human expansion and our colony policies. Our diplomatic team is reviewing their points and will respond appropriately." A reporter raised her hand. "What kind of concerns, Madam President?" "The usual ones, President," Kim said with a shrug. "They think we are expanding too fast. They want us to follow more of their rules, standard bureaucracy stuff." Another reporter called out, "Are there any changes to current colonial operations?" "No," President Kim said firmly. "All planned colonies will proceed on schedule. The Mars Agricultural Expo is still happening next month. Anyone who has not bought tickets should do so soon. My husband says the new potato varieties are amazing." The reporters wrote down notes, but nobody seemed very excited. This was the kind of boring political news that would get buried on page 6. "Any other questions?" President Kim asked. When nobody raised their hands, she smiled. "Great. I have to go review the budget for the new schools on Titan. Have a good day." Meanwhile, on the outer edge of human space, Admiral Dong-Yun Choi was reading the same message on his flagship. The Soul's Thunder was leading a patrol of 12 ships through the Kepler region, checking on mining operations and looking for new worlds to explore. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we just received a priority message from Earth Command." Admiral Choi took the datapad and read Ambassador Park's report. After a few minutes, he looked up at his crew. "Well, that is interesting. The Galactic Council has declared war on us." The bridge went quiet. Lieutenant Yuna, the navigation officer, was the first to speak. "Sir, should we change course? Head back to defend Earth?" "Let me check our orders," Admiral Choi said, pulling up another message. He read for a moment, then shook his head. "Nope. Command says to maintain current patrol routes and let them know if we see anything unusual." "So we just keep doing what we were doing?" asked Commander Junho, the ship's second officer. "Looks that way," Admiral Choi said. "We have 3 more systems to survey this week. The science team wants to check those gas giants for mining potential." Lieutenant Yuna frowned. "But, sir, if there is a war, shouldn't we be preparing for battle?" Admiral Choi thought about this. "Have you seen any enemy ships?" "No, sir." "Any attacks on our colonies?" "No, sir." "Any calls for help from human settlements?" "No, sir." "Then I guess we keep surveying gas giants," Admiral Choi said. "Let me know if that changes." On the research world of New Prometheus, Dr. Hyunwoo Nam was in the middle of the most important project of his career. He was converting 3 dead moons into garden worlds, complete with oceans, forests, and breathable air. The work would take 5 years and help millions of future colonists. Dr. Nam was standing in his laboratory watching the latest reports. From orbit, when his assistant Boyoung ran in with a tablet. "Dr. Nam," Boyoung said out of breath. "Emergency message from Earth." Dr. Nam looked up from his microscope. "What kind of emergency? Did the terraforming equipment break down?" "No, sir. The Galactic Council has declared war on humanity." Dr. Nam blinked. "War? What does that mean for our project here?" Boyoung checked his tablet. "The message does not say anything about stopping our work." "Good," Dr. Nam said, turning back to his microscope. "The algae samples are looking perfect. Today. If we can keep this growth rate, Moon 3 should have a complete atmosphere in 18 months. But, sir," Boyoung said, "war—" "Did Earth Command order us to stop the terraforming?" Dr. Nam asked. "Well, no. Did they recall our staff?" "No, sir. Did they stop sending supplies?" Boyoung checked his tablet again. "Actually, the next supply ship is arriving tomorrow, right on schedule." Dr. Nam smiled. "Then we keep working. These moons will not terraform themselves. Besides, if there really is a war, people will need safe places to live. We are probably more important now than ever." Halfway across the galaxy, Captain Yunbi. Song was flying her freight ship Lucky Dragon through normal space toward the Vega colonies. Her cargo hold was full of medical supplies, farming equipment, and about 2 tons of chocolate that the colonists had specially requested. Captain Song was drinking tea and reading a novel when her co-pilot Sang-hoon came to the bridge with a worried expression. "Captain, I just picked up a news broadcast from Earth," Sang-hoon said. "The Galactic Council declared war on us 3 days ago." Captain Song marked her place in her book and looked up. "War? That sounds serious. Are we supposed to do something different?" "I do not know," Sang-hoon said. "The news report was not very clear. President Kim just said they were reviewing the council's concerns." Captain Song thought about this while sipping her tea. "Did they give any new flight rules? New routes to avoid?" Sang-hoon shook his head. "No new rules. Space traffic control is operating normally. All the shipping lanes are open." "What about our cargo?" Captain Song asked. "The colonists on Vega 7 really need those medical supplies. The children's hospital is running low on antibiotics." "The shipping manifest has not changed," Sang-hoon reported. "We are still scheduled to deliver everything on time." Captain Song nodded and picked up her book again. "Then we keep flying. If somebody wants to fight a war, they can do it around us. We have sick children waiting for medicine." Back on Earth, the news of the war declaration was spreading, but not in the way anyone expected. Most people heard about it the same way they heard about changes to tax law or updates to space traffic regulations, as background noise that probably would not affect their daily lives. In Seoul, shopkeeper Mr. Kyung-soo was serving lunch to his regular customers when the news came on the restaurant television. The reporter was explaining something about the Galactic Council and war declarations. "Hey, Mr. Kyung-soo," called out a customer named Ji-hoon. "Did you hear that? Something about aliens declaring war." Mr. Kyung-soo glanced at the TV while cleaning a table. "Probably just politics," he said. "My son works on a colony ship. He says the government is always arguing with somebody about something." "More kimchi?" "Sure," Ji-hoon said. "Do you think this will affect food prices? I heard some of our vegetables come from the Mars farms now." "I doubt it," Mr. Kyung-soo said, spooning more kimchi onto Ji-hoon's plate. The transport companies are pretty reliable. Besides, if there were really a problem, they would have made a bigger announcement, right? On the moon, construction worker In-soo was building humanity's newest spaceport when his supervisor, Chan-woo, gathered the crew for the daily safety meeting. "Listen up, everyone," Chan-woo said. "Command wants me to tell you that the Galactic Council made some kind of announcement about humanity, something political. But our work schedule has not changed, so we keep building." "What kind of announcement?" asked In-soo. "I think they said we are expanding too fast or something," Chan-woo said with a shrug. "You know how bureaucrats are. Always complaining about paperwork." The crew laughed. They had heard plenty of complaints about human expansion from various alien groups over the years. Most of it was just paperwork and politics. "Anyway," Chan-woo continued, "we need to finish the landing pad foundations by Friday. The new passenger terminal cannot wait for politicians to finish arguing. In the Centauri system, teacher Ms. Yunhee was explaining basic algebra to her class of 8-year-olds when the school principal made an announcement over the intercom. "Attention students and faculty," the principal said. "We have received a message from Earth about some political developments with the Galactic Council. Classes will continue as normal. The school play is still scheduled for next Friday." Little Min-jae raised his hand. "Ms. Yunhee, what are political developments?" "Means the adults are arguing about rules," Ms. Yunhee explained. "Like when you and your sister disagree about whose turn it is to feed the cat." "Oh," Min-jae said. "Are we in trouble?" Ms. Yunhee smiled. "No, we are not in trouble. Now who can solve this equation on the board?" Far out on the frontier where the newest human colonies were just getting started, the reaction was even more practical. Colony Administrator Daeho was reviewing supply requests when his communications officer brought him the war declaration message. "Interesting," Daeho said, after reading it. "I wonder if this will affect our application for terraforming equipment." "Should we be worried?" the communications officer asked. Daeho looked out the window of his office at the bustling colony. People were building houses, planting gardens, and setting up schools. Children were playing in the streets while their parents worked on making this empty planet into a home. "I do not think so," he said. "We are too busy to worry about politics right now." The Galactic Council's first strike force was the largest military fleet ever assembled in known space. 500 warships from 47 different worlds moved through hyperspace like a storm of metal and energy. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Fleet Admiral Zix Andra commanded the force from her flagship, a massive vessel that looked like a crystal cathedral with weapons. She was a Velthari, one of the oldest and most respected warrior species in the galaxy. Her people had won wars before humans even learned to make fire. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "we are approaching the target system, Kepler 442, according to our intelligence." Admiral Zixandra studied the holographic display showing the system ahead. "What do we know about their defenses?" "Our scouts report unusual activity in the asteroid belt," the tactical officer said. "Massive industrial operations, thousands of structures. This must be a major military base." "Perfect," Admiral Zixandra said. "We will destroy their war machine first, then move on to their colonies. Signal all ships to battle stations." 500 alien warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. What they found was not what they expected. The asteroid belt was indeed full of structures, mining platforms, processing stations, habitat modules, and transport ships. But instead of military vessels and weapon platforms, they saw cargo haulers, construction equipment, and what appeared to be schools. Sir, the sensor operator said slowly, I am not detecting any military signatures. Admiral Zix Andra frowned. What do you mean? The stations are broadcasting civilian identification codes, mining permits, family registrations. Sir, I think this is just a mining operation. This was impossible. According to the Council's intelligence, humanity was a warlike species that conquered worlds and built massive military bases. This system was supposed to be one of their strongholds. There must be hidden weapons, Admiral Zixandra decided. Begin the assault. Target the largest station. Before the weapons could fire, a transmission came through on the common communication channel. Hello there, said a cheerful male voice. This is Supervisor Jae-hyun Kang from Asteroid Mining Station Omega-7. We saw your ships on our sensors. Are you having some kind of emergency? Do you need fuel or supplies? Admiral Zixandra stared at the communication screen. The human appeared to be a middle-aged man in work clothes, standing in what looked like an office. Behind him, she could see windows showing the interior of the station, where people were walking around normally, going about their daily business. This is Fleet Admiral Zixandra of the Galactic Council First Strike Force, she announced. We demand the immediate surrender of all human forces in this system. Supervisor Kang looked confused. I am sorry, but I think you have the wrong place. We do not have any military here. This is just a mining operation. We extract rare metals from the asteroids and ship them to the inner colonies. You lie! Admiral Zixandra shouted. This system is a human military stronghold. No, really, Kang said, sounding genuinely puzzled. Look, I can show you our permits if you want. We have been here for 6 years. My wife runs the school and my brother manages the agriculture domes. We are very peaceful people. The Admiral's tactical officer whispered, Sir, our scans confirm what he is saying. The largest structure appears to be a shopping center. The second largest is a school. We are detecting families with children. Admiral Zixandra was a veteran of 100 battles, but she had never encountered anything like this. Where are your weapons? We have meteor deflection systems, Kang said helpfully, and emergency beacons in case someone gets lost in the asteroids. Oh, and some of the mining equipment could probably be dangerous if you are not careful around it. Meteor. Deflection, Admiral Zixandra repeated. Sure, big rocks sometimes fly toward the station. We have to push them away so they do not break our windows. Would you like to speak with someone in charge of politics? I am just the mining supervisor. Are you not in charge? Of the mining, yes. But you are talking about surrender and military stuff. That sounds like government business. You would need to contact Earth for that. I can give you the communication codes. Admiral Zixandra looked around her bridge at her confused officers. This was not how wars were supposed to start. Where were the defiant speeches? The threats? The desperate last stands? What about your defenses? She demanded. Your fleet? We have Captain Yoon, Kang said. She patrols the outer system in case anyone needs help. Very nice lady. Makes excellent coffee. One ship? Admiral Zixandra could not believe it. You defend this entire system with one ship? Well, what is there to defend against? Kang asked reasonably. Most people who come here are traders or families looking for work. Captain Yoon mostly helps with navigation and emergency rescues. At that moment, a small ship appeared on the fleet sensors. It was about the size of a shuttle compared to the massive warships surrounding it. This is Commander Minji Yoon of the patrol ship Seoul's Pride, came a new voice over the communication channel. I received an emergency beacon from the mining station. Is everyone all right? Admiral Zixandra looked at the newcomer on her tactical display. The ship was clearly a converted cargo hauler with some defensive weapons added. It would take her entire fleet about 30 seconds to destroy it. "Commander Yoon," Admiral Zixandra said, "you are greatly outnumbered. We have 500 warships." There was a pause. "I can see that," Commander Yoon said calmly. "That is quite a lot of ships. Are you having some kind of mechanical problems? We have repair facilities if you need them. We are here to begin the war between the Galactic Council and humanity," Admiral Zixandra explained. Another pause. "Oh. Well, I am not really qualified to handle that kind of thing. You would need to contact Earth. I can give you the proper channels." Admiral Zixandra felt a headache beginning. "Are you not going to fight us?" "With one ship against 500? Commander Yoon sounded amused. "I may be brave, but I am not stupid. Besides, my ship is mostly full of medical supplies for the outer colonies. I was planning to deliver antibiotics to the Children's Hospital on Kepler 442c. Children's Hospital? Yes. About 300 kids live there with their families. The parents work in the deep space communication arrays, isolated locations, so they need regular supply runs." Admiral Zixandra closed her eyes and rubbed her temples. "Let me understand this. You have received word that the Galactic Council has declared war on humanity. You are facing 500 warships, and you are concerned about delivering medicine to children?" "Well, yes," Commander Yoon said. "Those children are counting on me. War or no war, they still need their medicine." Supervisor Kang's voice came back on the channel. "Admiral, I just talked to my wife. She wants to know if your crews would like to join us for dinner tonight. We are having a community feast to celebrate the successful completion of our latest mining project. She makes excellent kimchi, and we just received a shipment of fresh vegetables from our agricultural station." Admiral Zixandra looked around her bridge at her officers. Her weapons officer was staring at his console in confusion. Her tactical officer was checking and rechecking the sensor readings. Her communications officer was trying very hard not to laugh. "You are inviting us to dinner?" Admiral Zixandra asked slowly. "Of course," Kang said. "You have come such a long way, and you have so many ships. Your crews must be tired and hungry. We have plenty of food, and the station's recreation center has entertainment from 17 different worlds. But we are here to destroy you." "Are you?" Kang sounded genuinely curious. "Why would you want to do that? We have not done anything to you. We just mine asteroids and take care of our families." Commander Yoon's voice joined the conversation. "If you are really serious about this war business, you should probably talk to someone with more authority than us. Neither Supervisor Kang nor I have any power to surrender humanity or make military decisions." "Then who does?" Admiral Zixandra asked. "I am not sure anyone does," Commander Yoon admitted. "Humanity is spread across thousands of worlds now. Each colony pretty much takes care of itself. Earth coordinates things, but they cannot speak for everyone." Admiral Zixandra had studied warfare for 2 centuries. She had conquered 17 worlds and defeated the best military minds in the galaxy, but nobody had ever taught her how to fight an enemy that invited you to dinner and wanted to give medicine to children. "Admiral," her tactical officer whispered, "what are your orders?" Admiral Zixandra looked at the mining station on her screen. Through the windows, she could see children playing in corridors while adults went about their work. Gardens grew under artificial sunlight. Families lived their lives peacefully among the stars. "Stand down weapons," she ordered finally, "and Get me a communication line to the council. We have a problem. Supervisor Kang's cheerful voice came through the speakers one more time. So, would you like to join us for dinner? My wife is making her famous spicy soup. It is really quite good. Admiral Zixandra put her head in her hands. This was going to be a very long war. On the mining station, Supervisor Kang turned to his assistant. I think those ships are staying for dinner. Better tell your wife to make extra soup. Should we be worried about them? The assistant asked. General Tae-hoon Lim stood in the war room deep beneath Seoul, staring at a holographic map of human space. Red dots showed the locations of Galactic Council fleets. Blue dots showed human colonies. Green dots showed human military forces. The problem was obvious. There were a lot more red dots than green ones. Sir, his aide Colonel Yujin reported, we have completed our assessment of available forces. How bad is it? General Lim asked. Colonel Yujin looked uncomfortable. Well, sir, we have about 300 proper warships scattered across human space. The problem is that most of them are assigned to colony defense or exploration duties. The largest single fleet we can assemble is maybe 40 ships. General Lim rubbed his chin. And the Council has how many? According to intelligence reports, over 10,000 combat vessels. They have been building up their forces for years. What about our allies? That is another problem, sir. Most human colonies do not really think in terms of military alliances. They are more focused on trade agreements and cultural exchanges. General Lim walked to the window and looked out at the peaceful city above. People were going about their normal lives, unaware that their civilization was supposedly at war. Have any colonies reported attacks? He asked. No, sir. The Council fleets seem to be positioning themselves, but they are not actually shooting at anyone yet. Maybe they are waiting for us to make the first move? Colonel Yujin shrugged. Or maybe they are as confused as we are about how to fight this kind of war. Meanwhile, Dr. Subin Park was in her laboratory on Luna University, studying the cultural files that Ambassador Jinwoo had sent from the Galactic Council. As humanity's leading expert on alien societies, she was trying to understand why the Council thought war was necessary. Her research assistant Na-young knocked on the door. Professor, I finished analyzing the Council's military doctrines. What did you find? Dr. Park asked, not looking up from her microscope. They are very formal, Na-young said. Everything follows specific patterns. First, they issue warnings. Then they make demands. Then they declare war. Then they have big battles with rules about honor and territory. Dr. Park finally looked up. Rules about honor? Yes. The Council species seem to think war should be dignified, noble, with clear objectives and formal surrenders. Interesting. Dr. Park pulled up the data on her computer screen. And how do humans normally handle conflicts? Na-young consulted her notes. We usually try to ignore them until they go away. If that does not work, we find ways around the problem. If we absolutely have to fight, we do whatever works best, regardless of whether it follows traditional rules. So the Council expects a formal war with battles and surrenders, Dr. Park mused. But humanity is more likely to just keep doing what we were already doing and hope the problem solves itself. That seems accurate, Na-young agreed. Dr. Park published her findings in a paper titled Cultural Misunderstandings in Galactic Conflict Resolution. She sent copies to Earth government, but she doubted anyone would read it. Politicians rarely had time for academic research. In the Vega system, Captain Woo Jin Han was having his own encounter with the Council's war effort. His merchant ship, Golden Phoenix was carrying medical supplies to a remote colony when 3 alien warships appeared on his sensors. "This is battlecruiser Thezcaran," came a stern voice over the communication channel. "Unknown human vessel, you are violating our blockade. Prepare to be boarded." Captain Han checked his navigation charts. "I am sorry, but I do not see any official blockade notices for this system. Are you sure you have the right coordinates?" "Shao are enforcing the war declaration of the Galactic Council," the alien commander explained. "All human shipping is forbidden." "Oh, that," Captain Han said. "I heard about that, but I have a medical emergency here. The colony on Vega 7 has sick children who need antibiotics. Surely your war does not apply to medical supplies." There was a long pause. "What kind of medical supplies?" Captain Han transmitted his cargo. Manifest. "Antibiotics, surgical instruments, and some toys for the children's hospital. Oh, and about 50 kilos of chocolate. The doctors say it helps with morale." Another pause. "These are not military supplies?" "Definitely not. I do not even know what military supplies look like. I am just a cargo hauler." The alien commander sounded uncertain. "But you are human. Therefore you are our enemy." "I suppose so," Captain Han said agreeably. "But I am also the only person who can get these antibiotics to the sick children before they get worse. Could we maybe postpone the enemy part until after I make the delivery?" After some discussion among the alien ships, the blockade commander made a decision. "You may proceed, but only to deliver medical supplies. Then you must leave immediately." "Thank you," Captain Han said sincerely. "The doctors and families will be very grateful." As the Golden Phoenix flew past the warships toward Vega 7, Captain Han shook his head in amazement. "What kind of war has exceptions for medical deliveries?" he asked his co-pilot. "The kind where nobody really knows what they are fighting." "About," the co-pilot replied. Back on Earth, President Sumon Kim was dealing with her own confusion about the war. Intelligence reports showed Council fleets moving through human space, but they were not actually attacking anything. Instead, they seemed to be setting up what looked like checkpoints. "Madam President," her chief of staff reported, "we have an unusual situation developing." "More unusual than a war where nobody is shooting?" President Kim asked. "The Council fleets are stopping human ships and asking them about their cargo. If the ships are carrying civilian supplies, they are allowed to continue. Military equipment is confiscated, but we are not shipping much military equipment anyway." President Kim looked puzzled. "So they are fighting a war by being very polite." "It appears so." "Oh, and several council commanders have requested permission to purchase supplies from human colonies. Apparently their food replicators cannot make kimchi. They want to buy kimchi from us while we are at war?" "Yes, ma'am. The commander of the 3rd Strike Fleet specifically requested your husband's recipe for fermented vegetables." President Kim put her head in her hands. "This is the strangest war in history." On the frontier world of New Hanseong, colony administrator, Seokjin was dealing with his own version of the war. A council fleet had arrived in orbit and demanded to speak with the military commander. "We do not have a military commander," Seokjin explained over the communication link. "We have a volunteer militia for emergencies, but mostly we just grow food and raise our children. All human colonies must have military installations," the council commander insisted. "Would you like to see for yourself?" Seokjin offered. "You can send a shuttle down to look around. We have farms, schools, workshops, and a really nice park that my daughter designed for her school project." A few hours later, an alien shuttle landed at the colony's main square. The council soldiers who emerged were heavily armed and ready for battle. What they found was a typical human settlement. People working in gardens, children playing games, adults building houses and fixing equipment. The alien commander, a being that looked like an armored lizard, approached Seokjin cautiously. "Where are your weapons?" "The hunting rifles are in the community center," Seokjin said. "We use them to keep the local wildlife away from the crops. Would you like to see them?" The weapons turned out to be simple projectile firearms designed for scaring away large animals, nothing that could threaten a spaceship. "What about your fortifications?" the commander asked. "You mean the fence around the agricultural area?" Seokjin pointed to a simple barrier designed to keep animals out of the vegetable gardens. "My son built that as part of his engineering studies." The alien soldiers spent 2 hours searching the colony for military installations. They found workshops where people made furniture, laboratories where scientists studied local plants, and a school where children learned mathematics and literature. "This is impossible," the commander muttered. "How do you defend yourselves?" "Defend against what?" Seokjin asked. "The most dangerous thing on this planet is probably the weather during storm season. We have shelters for that." "Against other military forces." Seokjin thought about this. "I suppose we would call for help. Earth has some ships that could come if we really needed them. But mostly, we just try to be friendly with our neighbors." "But you have expanded across the galaxy. You must have armies." "We have families," Seokjin corrected. "People who want to build new homes on new worlds. When they find a place they like, they move there and start a community. It is not really expansion in the military sense. It is more like growth." The alien commander was beginning to understand the problem. His species thought of expansion as conquest, armies taking territory by force. But humans seemed to expand the way plants grew, spreading naturally wherever conditions were favorable. "Sir," one of his soldiers reported, "the locals have invited us to dinner. Something called a barbecue." "A what?" Seokjin smiled. "It is a traditional human celebration where we cook food outdoors and share it with friends. You and your soldiers are welcome to join us. My wife makes the best grilled meat in the colony." The commander looked around at the peaceful settlement, with its gardens and schools and laughing children. His orders were to secure this military installation and capture any enemy commanders. 6 months after declaring war on humanity, High Counselor Vexithara called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The Great Hall was filled with confused and frustrated representatives from 847 worlds. The reports coming in from the front lines made no sense. Human colonies were thriving. Trade was actually increasing. Several council species had started buying human products. 3 alien worlds had requested to join human colonies. "Order! Order!" Vexithara's crystal voice rang through the hall. "We must address this crisis immediately." Admiral Zixandra stood to give her military report. The proud warrior looked tired and confused. "High Counselor, I regret to inform you that our war effort has encountered unexpected difficulties." "What kind of difficulties?" Vexithara demanded. "The humans are not fighting back," Admiral Zixandra said simply. The hall erupted in confused chatter. Representatives buzzed, clicked, and warbled at each other in dozens of languages. "Explain," Vexithara ordered when the noise died down. Admiral Zixandra consulted her data tablet. "In 6 months of active warfare, human casualties total 0. Property damage to human installations totals 0. Human military response totals 0. That is impossible. They must be planning something." I do not think so, Admiral Zixandra said wearily. Yesterday, the mining station at Kepler 442 sent my fleet a care package. Homemade cookies and coffee. The note said they hoped we were not too lonely out here in space. A delegate, shaped like a giant mantis, raised one claw. What about their military forces? That is part of the problem, Admiral Zixandra admitted. We cannot find any unified human military. Each world has some local defense, but there is no central command structure, no grand strategy, no war plans. But they are expanding faster than ever, protested a jellyfish-like being floating in a water tank. Our intelligence shows they established 17 new colonies during this war. Yes, Admiral Zixandra confirmed. And they invited us to the dedication ceremonies. 3 of my ship commanders attended the ribbon cutting for the new agricultural station in the Ross system. They said the humans served excellent food. Vexithara's crystal body flashed bright red with anger. This is unacceptable. We declared war. There must be consequences. At that moment, the hall's main entrance opened. President Soman Kim walked in, accompanied by a small group of humans and carrying what appeared to be gift bags. I hope I am not late, President Kim said cheerfully. Traffic was terrible around the station. Oh, and I brought presents for everyone, Earth coffee and some entertainment programs your species might enjoy. The hall went silent. This was not how enemy leaders were supposed to behave during wartime. President Kim, Vexithara said coldly, you are in violation of wartime protocols. You cannot simply walk into a council session uninvited. Was I not invited? President Kim looked genuinely confused. Ambassador Park said you wanted to talk. So here I am, ready to talk. We are at war, Vexithara shouted. Yes, I heard about that, President Kim said calmly. That is why I came. I figured we should probably discuss whatever is bothering you. She walked to the center of the hall and set down her gift bags. I brought Admiral Lee with me and Dr. Park and some other people who know more about these things than I do. What exactly is the problem? A delegate who looked like a walking crystal spoke up. The problem is humanity's aggressive expansion across the galaxy. Aggressive? President Kim looked puzzled. We just look for empty worlds where people can build homes. Is that aggressive? You do not ask permission, the crystal being accused. Permission from who? President Kim asked reasonably. Most of the worlds we settle are empty. No one lives there. If someone does live there, we usually try to trade with them or find a different planet. Fleet Admiral Hyokjin Yu chose that moment to arrive with actual human military ships. 1,200 vessels dropped out of hyperspace near the station, their hulls gleaming in the starlight. The council delegates panicked briefly, thinking this was the human counterattack they had been expecting. But instead of taking aggressive positions, the human fleet began deploying aid stations and medical ships. Sorry I am late, Admiral Yu said as he entered the hall. We had to stop and help some refugees from the Andorian border conflict. Nothing serious. Just some families who needed food and medicine. Vexithara stared at the human admiral. You brought a fleet to peace negotiations? These old ships? Admiral Yu looked surprised. They were already in the area doing survey work. I figured they could help with crowd control and logistics while we talk. Oh, and they are setting up mobile hospitals in case anyone needs medical attention. Dr. Subin Park stepped forward with her research. High Counselor, I think I understand the source of this conflict. We have been operating under different assumptions about what expansion means. Explain, Vexithara demanded. Dr. Park activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. The Council views expansion as territorial, conquest, armies moving in to claim land and resources. But human expansion is more like biological growth. Families move to new worlds because they want to build homes and raise children. There is no central plan or military objective. "But you violate our treaties," protested the mantis-like delegate. President Kim looked embarrassed. "Which treaties? We get so many documents from various governments. Our legal department tries to keep track, but honestly, with 3,000 colonies, sometimes things slip through the cracks." 2,847 violations, Vexathera listed. "Really?" President Kim pulled out her tablet. "Could you send us a list? We can probably fix most of those. If we accidentally built something in the wrong place, we can move it or pay fees or whatever makes sense." Admiral Zixandra spoke up from her seat. "President Kim, do you understand that we declared war on your entire species?" "I understand that you are upset about something," President Kim said. "But war seems like a very drastic response to paperwork problems. Could we not just have a meeting and sort things out?" "We tried meetings," Vexthara protested. "You ignored our communications!" Ambassador Jinwoo Park looked up from his tablet. "Actually, I think there might have been a filing error. Your messages were probably sent to the Colonial Relations Department, but they are always backlogged." "Did you try the direct communication protocol?" "The what?" "If you mark a message as urgent and send it through the emergency channels, it goes straight to President Kim's office," Ambassador Park explained. "Much faster than the regular bureaucracy." Vexathara's crystal body flickered through several colors that indicated extreme frustration. "Are you telling me this entire war could have been avoided with better communication procedures?" "Probably," President Kim said with a shrug. "Most problems can be solved by talking to the right people." A new voice spoke from the back of the hall. It belonged to a small, furry delegate that had been quiet during most of the session. "If I may," the being said, "my world has been trading with human colonies for 2 years now. They are excellent neighbors, always willing to help, very fair in their dealings, and they make wonderful food. The humans helped us rebuild after the earthquake on our homeworld," added another delegate. "They sent engineers and medical supplies without being asked. My son is studying at the Human University on Alpha Centauri," said a third. "He says the education is excellent, and the humans treat alien students like family." More and more delegates began sharing positive experiences with human colonies, trade partnerships, cultural exchanges, scientific cooperation, emergency assistance during natural disasters. Vexathera listened to the testimonials with growing confusion. But they are expanding without permission. They are changing the balance of power in the galaxy. Dr. Park stepped forward again. "High Counselor, what if I told you that balance of power is not really a human concept? We do not think in terms of controlling territory or dominating other species. We just want safe places to live and raise our families." "Then why do you keep expanding?" Vexathara demanded. "Because we like exploring," President Kim said simply. "And because there are a lot of empty worlds out there that could be turned into nice homes for people. It is not about conquest. It is about growth." Admiral Yu nodded. "We are not trying to build an empire. We are just trying to build communities." The hall fell quiet as the council delegates processed this information. They had declared war on a species that did not understand war the way they did. Humans were not conquerors or empire builders. They were gardeners, spreading across the galaxy and turning empty worlds into homes. Furthermore, President Kim continued, We would be happy to follow your treaties and regulations, as long as they do not prevent families from finding places to live. Just send us clear instructions about what you need, and we will do our best to comply. And if we cannot comply with something, Admiral Yu added, we can probably find a different way to accomplish what everyone wants. Ambassador. Park looked up from his tablet. I just sent the Council a formal application to join as associate members. That way, human colonies would be part of the galactic legal system instead of accidentally violating it. Vexathara stared at the humans in disbelief. They had responded to a declaration of war by applying for membership in the organization that declared war on them.